Welcome. Today we are solving the two-sum problems on LeetCode number 1 in PHP. In this problem, we will have an array of integers. We also have an target integer. We need to return indices of two numbers, and those two numbers can add up to the target number. We only have one solution, and we cannot use the same element twice. So now let's explain example 1. So in 2, 7, 11, 15, the sum is 9. So now we have two pointers. The sum is already 9. So we need to return the index of these two numbers, which is 0 and 1. So this is we need to return. So let's explain example 2. Now the sum is 5, which is not 6. So we need to move the second pointer to the next element until we find the target is 6. So now the sum is 7. So we need to move the first pointer, and now the sum is 6. So now we can return the indices of these two pointers. Yeah. So now let's have a more complicated example. You can see in this example, we need to move the pointer until we find that the sum of the two pointers can be added up to 20. So in the first scan, we don't have the sum 20. So we need to move the first pointer to the next element and then scan the array again. Still, we cannot find the target. So we need to move the first pointer to the next element again, and then we scan the array again. Now we find the sum is 20, and then we can return the indices, which is, so let's write the code. First, we initialize an empty array to store the indexes, and then we need to loop through the array to get the first number. So now the first number will be on the first element, will be pointing to the first element, and then we can get a complement value. By subtracting the first number from the target. So we hope the second number can find a number which is the same as the complement. So now we need to loop through the array again to get the value of the second number. Since we cannot use the same element twice, so if the second index equals to the first index, we need to continue. And if we can find the second number, equals to our complement value, then we find the two numbers that we want, right? So for example, so when these two numbers, the sum of these two numbers equals to the target, so we need to store the first index and second index to our output array, and then we need to return this output array. Since all the test cases will have exactly one solution, so we don't need to handle any return any other values. Now let's test it. So it's accepted and the runtime is 14. This is our first solution, the brute force solution, and we need to find the time complexity for this solution. First we scan each number in the array, and then we scan all the numbers again. So for these kind of nested loops, the time complexity will be big O(n) squared. Now we need to optimize our solution and prevent scanning the numbers more than once. In order to do that, we need to introduce a new variable called HashMap. It's also called associative array in PHP. It basically stores a key and a value in this associative array. Since we only want to scan each number once, so we don't need the second pointer. We only need the first pointer. And now when we scan the first element, we need to get the complement value, which is 20 minus 4 equals to 16, and see if we can get 16 in our HashMap. If not, we need to store the value and the index number in our HashMap. And then we need to move on to the next element and get a complement value, which is 14. And we cannot find 14 in our HashMap variable, so we need to store the current element 6 and its index 1 in the HashMap. And then we move on to the next element, and the complement value is 7, and there's no 7 in our hash map. So we need to store the current element and the index in the hash map. And then we need to move on. The complement value is 12, and no element is 12, so we cannot find the 12 in the hash map. So we need to store 8 and index 3. Now we move on to the next element. The complement value is 13, and we find 13 in our hash map. So we can return the index 2 and the index 4 in our output array. So we use HashMap to store all the numbers and use corresponding index. So we only need to scan each number once. So the time complexity will be big O(n), and we only have one variable HashMap, so the space complexity will be big O(1). Now let's write the code. First, we still need output empty array to store the results, and we need to introduce a new associated array called HashMap. And then we need to scan each number once. We use the target minus the current number to get the complement value. And then we need to find if we can find the complement value in the hash map. To do that, we need to use a PHP function called array key exists, and the key will be our complement value, and the array will be hash map. So for this PHP function, it will use constant time. So it's O(1). And if true, if we can find 16 in the hash map, then we need to return the output. So first we need to store the current index in the output, and then we need to store the index value in the hash map. So we use hash map, and the key will be the complement value, and then we can return output. So if we cannot find complement in the hash map, for example, there is no 16 in the hash map, then we need to store it, the current value and the current index in the hash map. So we need to store. So the key will be the current value, current number, and the value will be the index, current index. and see this can work. And yeah, so we beat 63% of users with PHP. If we kind of remove the comments, then we can submit again. So we beat 91% of users with PHP.